This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight we are honored to have on our program Jermaine Botsio. He is the founder of the conservative talk show Conservative Nation. Jermaine, what an honor and a pleasure to have you on the Glazov Gang.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's such a treat.
Fantastic. Jermaine, just even to begin with, a black American, the American flag behind you, there's even a suspicion you might like Donald Trump. Are you somehow connected to racism or white supremacy? Because that's what the left is saying.
You know, that's what they want you to believe, but it's not like that at all. I'm just an American, a guy who loves America, who served his country.
Well, yeah, and thank you very much. And I mean, it's just incredible what the left is doing today. So we're going to get to that. You know, you have a fascinating story, Jermaine, and I want to go back a little bit. You have a background in, you know, you worked at a juvenile detention center. You were even involved in cognitive behavioral therapy for ex-offenders. And in many respects, that molded your thinking about what was wrong with certain problems in America and where the left had it wrong. Could you talk about that a bit?
Oh, yes. During my experience working as a cognitive behavioral therapist, I facilitated a lot of groups of ex-offenders, basically people who are mandated to go to treatment, and it's treatment of your mind. And by doing this, I've learned a lot about America and just about the social fabric here. And what I realized is that a lot of ex-offenders, they didn't have fathers in their life. And I started looking at the epidemic of fatherlessness and how it equates to the recidivism rate of offenders going in and out of prison. And I saw that it was alarming. It was so alarming that it got me into investing more and more into the problem. And then after that, I started seeing the correlation between the recidivism rate and America's fatherlessness epidemic. And it's something that I wanted to bring to the forefront because I've seen that it's devastating the families and it's creating a myriad of problems.
Right, and the problem is that the left that loves division and wants to destroy America, and what it's telling the black community is just keep pointing the finger at Whitey. Keep pointing the finger at Whitey. And look, we know that of course racism exists. We know that there's an ugly past. We know a lot of this stuff. But there's also good things about America, and we can get to that. But the problem is what you're saying, is that the black community also has to look within, and in terms of its own problems and in terms of some of its own, you know, culture and this problem of fatherlessness in the black community as well, correct?
Correct. You're absolutely correct. You know, looking at the African-American problem here, when African-Americans are being born out of wedlock at a 77% clip, and that's according to the Washington Examiner latest figures. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's devastating the community there. And you can link fatherlessness to crime, to out of wedlock birth rate, to almost every problem, and it's reaching other minorities and other groups of populations as well.
Right, and Jermaine, and so we know with Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, we know that with the left's welfare programs, etc., they literally kicked the fathers out of the homes because, especially in the black community, they came in and said, there doesn't need to be a father here. And they said to the black woman, you can just have as many kids as you want with as many different men as you want, and we will just fund you. And the government became the daddy, and this had lethal consequences. And it is rooted in the leftist idea.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and that's something that I'm trying to bring to the forefront because it's something that I believe that we can change, and I believe we can change that through conservatism, being rooted in principle, being rooted in God, being able to bring this to the black community to show value in family, having a man around. That's something that is surely lacking. So, I mean, you're absolutely correct.
I just love it when people keep telling me I'm right. We're going to have to double the time of this program this evening. But Jermaine, just tell us a little bit more about yourself in terms of, because there's a lot of black Americans that end up in the Democratic Party that hate Donald Trump today, and I'm sure you take a lot of heat for being a conservative. What ultimately made you courageous, made you a conservative, but also brave enough to take this heat of, I'm sure, of all the names that you're called by the left and also many black Americans?
I would say that my father really shaped my mind, especially how I grew up, and also just me growing up here in America and going through the school system and interacting with people here as well. Just a little background about me. My father and my family, they come from Ghana, West Africa. My father migrated here during the 1970s. He went to school here. He took his classes here. He got his citizenship, and he did big things. And what he taught me was that America here is a place of opportunity. Anybody can make it if you put your heart, your will, your ambition, your gumption into it. There's nothing stopping you. And one thing he told me is that there is nobody stopping me from being successful here in America. He told me that, and that's something that I took to heart. And when I was going through the American school system, African Americans used to call me all sorts of names. They used to call me Blackie, Charcoal, African Booty Scratcher. I mean, the names are ridiculous. All right. And I would assume that these names will be reserved for the quote unquote the white man, since black Americans say the white man is terrible. But what I found out is that black Americans in this country are more bigoted and racist than the white Americans that they're trying to portray.
Wait, but you're saying not just towards whites, but towards blacks that also do not think the way they're supposed to be thinking, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I call that is a groupthink mentality. It's kind of like a collective mentality that blacks have to try to keep you pigeonholed into that degenerate type of thinking, that low mentality type of thinking, which is all rooted in colorism. And that's something that I try to put to the forefront.
Well, it's so interesting that the left goes on and on about, oh, you're racist, racist. But I find something a bit racist in a leftist looking at you. And for instance, I don't want to assume too many things. You support Donald Trump?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Jermaine, when you say this around leftists, whether they be white or black or of another race or color, you're called a lot of names. But it's very interesting that in terms of a black American, when a leftist sees a black American, he right away thinks, oh, he's black. He's supposed to be against Trump. So you're judged on your color in terms of how you're supposed to think. I would think that's kind of racist.
Yes, you would think that. You would think their own leftists would take a step back to look at what they're doing and to judge what they're doing. But the leftists can't see it like that. It's classical Marxism, which is divide and conquer. And that's what they've been doing to the black community.
What are some things you like about Donald Trump?
Some things that I like about Donald Trump is that he's like a real man. He says what he means and means what he says. He doesn't play the leftist PC game, which is, to me, fabulous. And to me, he tells the truth, Jamie. It's hard to get politicians nowadays to tell the honest truth, and he's able to just tell the truth as it is, and the left goes bananas.
But since you're for Donald Trump, I have to ask an honest question. Are you a white supremacist?
Absolutely not.
All right. Well, this is just the absurd world that the left has created, Jermaine. And so look, tell us what you think about how children are being raised in our society now, and that this is this is at the root of a lot of our problems.
Yeah, our children are being raised in this society to think emotionally rather than logically. Now, this has been going on for generations upon generations. I think the last 3 or 4 generations. And they've been slowly taking the father out through legislation. And this legislation is through welfare. Now, what the left does, the left has taken over academia. They have taken over almost all the media sources. So this country is being brainwashed to believe in a certain vision, and that certain vision is this collective mentality. They're trying to put everybody in a box, and what they are doing to our children is they're setting them up for failure, and it is such a shame.
Even when you see, well, look, even when you see a lot of these school shootings, it's interesting. The media does not narrow in on this issue. Was there a father in the home? Yeah. What's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it, if they were able to speak about this issue, it would solve a lot of the problems that are going on. They know what is going on. The best way to destroy a community in a society is to first get rid of the males. Now, they can't kill us off by shooting us, taking us out in the streets. So what they do is that they subvert it by, bringing in this leftist ideology, which is a lot of it is rooted in feminism. Hey, you don't need a man, because the longer women stay away from men, guess what? The more they vote Democrat. So it's all a game in their eyes.
And Jermaine, the left is engaged very much in a war on men, and also, of course, a war on black men in our society, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can see this every day. You can look at the media and tell that they're engaged in trying to get men out of this country. You can look at how they even treat men on TV. When they run around and kick men in the balls on TV, and you got people who are running around laughing, it's so funny that, and if the same thing happened to a woman, guess what? The left will be in an uproar and everything else. So it's a way of conditioning this society to believe in that narrative.
As a black American, Jermaine, if you were to tell your fellow blacks the stance they should have on the NRA, should blacks defend the NRA or wage a war against the NRA?
Yeah, blacks should definitely defend the NRA. The NRA was, in a sense, created for blacks to protect their own community, show them how to use weapons. A lot of black Americans live in the inner city. In the areas they live in, there's a lot of crime, and the blacks that are suffering in this environment, they need protection. And guess what? The NRA is there to help. So they should be lining up, and they should be ready to protect their family and their nation.
Thank you, Jermaine. And most importantly, why should people be watching the Glazov Gang? Okay, this is why I didn't become a stand-up comedian. Jermaine Botsio, what an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. Keep up the fight, my friend. Before we go, the people that are on the edge of their seats and are just saying, wow, this is fantastic stuff, they want to start following you, they want to support you, where do they find you?
Well, you can go to my website, www.jbtalkradio.com. You can catch all my articles over there. I got my shows. They run Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central to 8 p.m. Central. Or you can find me on Facebook. You could type in my name, Jermaine, last name Botsio. I'm having a good old time. So you'll definitely like the content.
So Jermaine Botsio, and also the easiest thing, perhaps just go to Facebook, and then they can find Conservative Nation and everything that you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic, Jermaine. Just before we go, what would you leave our audience with? What's the most important message at the moment?
Well, one of the most important messages that I can put out here is that we all need to stick together as Americans. If this country goes under, guess what? We all go under. So we got to stick together. We got to make sure that we're principled, and we got to make sure that, you know, we keep the fight, because right now the left is on the march, ladies and gentlemen, and they want to destroy this nation. So join me, join Jamie, join a whole group of us as we try to save this nation.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. Hope you'll come back on.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jermaine Botsio, the conservative talk show, Conservative Nation. And you can find Jermaine Botsio on Facebook, and then all the branches, you'll see right there that they branch out to everything that he's doing. Jermaine, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And thank you for watching the Glazov Gang. We'll see you real soon. Good night.